We invite Professor Márcia Valéria Teixeira, academic responsible for the project Stained Glass of the Candelária Church. Professor Márcia Valéria has a PhD in history and art criticism from the School of Fine Arts of the Federal University of Rio de Janeiro. She's an associate professor of the Department of Museological Processes Studies from UniRio, coordinator of a project Historical Churches in Rio de Janeiro, and she has coordinated this project since 2013. And she's also from the A Sacro Research Project from 2022 onwards. She will talk about small heritage gardens, art, education, and preservation. Professor Márcia Valéria, I give you the floor. Good morning to everyone. Well, after the introduction, I don't need to say anything, you know what I do. Once again, thank you. I was part of the opening table, thanking the Brotherhood that had welcomed my work as an art history professor, welcoming my work with open arms. And I look for interdisciplinary work. Ever since 2013, I've been coordinator of guided visitation with students. And during my doctor's degree studies, I researched the portrait painting collection, not only of the Brotherhood, but of other collections in the city of Rio de Janeiro. It's a pleasure to be sharing each achievement and unfolding of my project with you today. And I will present to you part of what's being developed, what has been developed since April at the educational sector of the Brotherhood of the Blessed Sacrament. I thank Elder and Marisa for inviting me for this presentation. Justino presented me as a member of the Brotherhood, so Our Lady of Light, Our Lady of Candelária. So I'm very grateful to be talking about light, about stained glass. This church that lights our church through stained glass. We have an interdisciplinary team, a record specialist, myself, and a museology student, Mayara Gonçalves. On March 17th, we formally presented this project at the church. Mayara presented part of what was going to be done by coordinator Elder Viana, and also announcing what our plans were for heritage education initiatives, the importance of working on heritage through stained glass and educating not only the audience that visits the church, but also teach students of Gonçalves de Araújo School. And I will tell you a little more about this school shortly. The objective of this educational project was mainly to present the concepts of memory and heritage, starting from Elder Viana's project. So we developed heritage educational activities. And this is the philanthropic legacy of this brotherhood. Students from elementary school to middle school, and they receive not only an education, extremely vulnerable children are educated by the institution, and also the children of our staff in school age. Another activity is support to the elderly through social service with activities raising awareness to the process of restoration and its importance to the heritage. There's a weekly meeting of the elderly, and we provided information regarding what was taking place in stained glass restoration, and we conducted activities with them as well. The methodology. 2 activity books were developed, small heritage guardians. There was an extension course at the headquarters of the Brotherhood. So there were people who will listen to this for the first time. And we chose the name because, let's say, students were a bit bothered, to put it this way. And they said, we're not small kids, we're 12, 13-year-olds, we're teenagers. So it sounded like we were giving them a childlike treatment, but that was not the intention. I'm a teacher. My intention is to provide education, to sow seeds. Small gardens, we're small gardens. How many are we today? 50, 100? We're a small number. In charge of keeping this heritage so that it is preserved tomorrow. So we are small, and we will work together. We will multiply this number. This was the idea behind it. I apologize, not my idea, our idea, actually. Mayara was thinking, it's our idea. Then Mayara and Javan conducted all the initiatives I will present to you. There were visual solutions for developing games. There was a survey of the target audience, students from the school, the children of staff members of the Brotherhood, and the elderly. And Professor Walter Uptmore was providing consultancy to the restoration process. There was a course, 2 courses actually. I took part in the second class, and we were able to learn from his expertise and then tell children what the glazier does. So we could bring to the attention of the small gardens the awareness about the work you do, preserving heritage. And then we followed up his work at the workshop, but we also took them to the church and took him to the school. The rationale behind this project to show how important restoration is, conservation, preserving. Restoration, what is that? The kids could understand what was being done, why that money was being spent, what was the role of the people working in this project, involved in this project, and introduce the concepts of memory and heritage, and also introduce the federal, state, and municipal level institutions involved. Elder representing IRPH, I was representing UniRio, Professor Justina representing the Brotherhood. We were also assessed by, helped by URIC from the consulate, and there were many people involved for the realization of a product, for conducting a project, and we were introducing to them stained glass projection techniques and glaziers craft as well. These are some of the institutions, and we produced a few notebooks. Please control my time. Professors speak a lot. So we conducted some activities for kids from 4 to 9 years of age. So we developed labyrinths. Explaining how stained glass is produced. We also developed the Connect the Dots activity, and we explained the tools of glaziers. We, from the pictures taken by Helder, we printed this in black and white for the kids to paint them. And that activity was done once again during this week for students from ages 10 to 15. That was the first test, so there was more content. The arts teacher had introduced art history to them, so we expanded on the content. When we were introducing the central image, Our Lady of Candelária, we would show the image in full color, then they would contextualize and they could paint Our Lady with the angels on the sides. That was one activity as well. With Walter, he provided a lecture and we used colored paper, and they would assemble their stained glass with paper, scissor, glue, so they would do a collage. So these were also black and white sheets handed out for them to color in. And in connection with art history, we suggested you could do hatching, you could use impressionism techniques, you could use different techniques from painting schools that you could use for coloring up the sheets you received. We were talking about the different hues in glass and how you could create shades. So we explained these things with the materials they had. This is a picture of our group when we handed the kit to the board. It was a major step. It was a major step, not only because we made progress regarding museology with Professor Mário Chagas and the intern and future museologists, but we've made progress regarding challenges, and this is the most fun part. So the presentation of the educational project was on June 17th. with the consul, Justino, and the director of the school. And IRPH and the different partnerships, IRPH, IFAN, wanted to join the educational sector of the Brotherhood and promoted actions during that day as well. So IFAN described objects, and then they had to write on paper what they could see in the pictures, exercising looking at images. And then IRPH, they had the game of cultural heritage, what having an asset declared as cultural heritage means. So those concepts were introduced in a brief initial introductory lecture, and then they would play the game. At a second point in time, IFAN's team, the Natural Heritage Institute, was explaining what they do. Each technician was explaining their line of work. This was very fortunate because it could show students their realities. So they made analogies with different elements of their day-to-day lives. So, and then on the right-hand side, I was playing the heritage game. I could finally take part. So this is a different activity with IRPH. On the right-hand side picture, these are sixth grade students. And then, Walter, we thank you because Walter brought from Germany some tools, some materials, some sheets of glass, and he taught kids. He talked about what being a glazier means, and he also showed kids how to cut glass. And I was amazed what beautiful work you do. It's amazing. I work on the theoretical side of things. One thing is to look at stained glass on churches and windows. Another thing is to watch you work. It was amazing to be at a workshop, seeing you mechanically cleaning stained glass. And another thing is to look at Walter working. He was teaching the craft, and I am deeply thankful to Walter for this. And then we have fun. We don't earn much, but we do have fun. Mayara had the idea of starting from the central piece or panel. We developed a puzzle with each individual piece as a sheet of paper. Then it was printed in PVC for children to put it together. So we took the color image, the pieces were shuffled as in a puzzle, and then we set some time. You have 2 minutes. And if you present children with a challenge, they love it. So it was a challenge for them, and it was like a rally. There were 4 simultaneous rooms. They were going from room to room, each 40 minutes. So each group would be addressed by IFAN, IRPH, the Brotherhood, and Walter. So we took turns shifting from room to room, and then they would announce the time they needed for putting the puzzle together. And they were competing with other classes, and they were looking at the piece put together, and then Mayara would explain what they had just done, comparing to what is being done in the actual workshop. She's showing the signature, talking about details of the stained glass panel. And they're putting it together. So then we addressed the golden age, people of 65 years of age and up, some people with vulnerabilities, some people chosen by social service. And on Wednesdays, they meet for an educational activity, for a time for thinking and for chilling it. So since they were together, we proposed one more activity, which was a memory game. And there was a memory game and the kit for students as well. But since we're addressing this for students and for the elderly, I'm explaining this only when talking about the elderly. Kids and elderly alike were given the memory game. We chose important pieces of the stained glass panels and we prepared the memory game with these pieces. So looking at the panel, everyone was a kid once. So okay, remember this piece was here, and you had to find the piece where it was. So you turn the sheets, and people had a lot of fun. People laughed while playing it. It was a lot of joy to watch them playing, just like kids, like as if they were kids again. And there was a puzzle game. Once again, the kit that was given to kids also included a puzzle game for the kids. I just didn't tell you beforehand. But I was sitting at one table, Mayara was sitting at a different table with the image, and they had to look at the details to put together the puzzle. Mayara giving some hints, and on the right-hand side, the social assistant is also giving some hints. And now we asked the question, why preservation? Why are we small guardians? Why? New challenges. Art is for everyone. The role of social museology, and as a reference, not only at Unirio, but in Brazil and abroad, Professor Mário Chagas is a reference in this sector. There is also registration and collection. So archives, the people who work there, they do an amazing job. And I also think the institution that preserves its archives and values their archives, and the effort they put into the maintenance of this archive as guardians of this institutional memory. I thank you. And then we had new challenges. If this seminar is a challenge of art and light, we also challenged ourselves. And we came up with the second notebook in Libras, the Brazilian Sign Language. The same notebook, exactly the same as for the other kids, and we introduce it at the school so that they know that the colleague that suffers from autism or has sight impairment, hearing impairment, they have a notebook for them as well. So we included Brazilian Sign Language in the second notebook. We explained what Libras is, the Brazilian Sign Language. And then we also had Braille language. Why? Because in the last curriculum, Mario, you hinted to me that in developing the syllabus every semester museology students organize, and the group presented at IFAN and at the school at the same time. They included captions in Braille and included audio description and also Brazilian Sign Language. And I thought, okay, since Mayara had prepared an exhibition on hip hop and addressed these topics as well, so we offered the memory game as a suggestion, and they taught us the path to reach this Brazilian Sign Language and Braille. Thank you, Mayara, for your perception. So we also developed Braille activities as well. I'm brushing through it just to give you an idea of the work we did. And then also always responses. There's an answer key and the puzzle printed in PVC we gave as a donation to the school. I thought about conducting an activity with you, but I thought, 150 people, perhaps not everyone will be able to join the game, so I shied away from it. So I here would like to express my thanks to the Brotherhood, to the Museology School, IRPH, IFAN, which is always present, the National Heritage Institute, Gerda Henkel Foundation. Without their sponsorship, it would be impossible to hold this project. Mayor House, also thanking Walter Upmore, the General Consulate of Germany, and Windsor Hotel Network. Thank you so much. Do visit Candelária Church. Thank you so much, Professor Márcia Valéria, for your great presentation. And now we have a Q&A session. Let's keep in mind that we have 10 minutes for the Q&A session. If you wish to ask a question, please signal to our team and you may ask the question using the microphone. Is there a question? Just a second, an announcement prior to a question. Congratulations for the activity. I was curious. I wish to know. Those are small kids. How was it for them to cut glass? Were they afraid? No. They just understood how glass is cut, but they didn't cut it themselves. No, Walter was very careful, and initially he even asked for his students to keep a little distance. And obviously he's so experienced at it. And they were very curious, but then the questions they asked were the most interesting. How do you do it? Do you trace? Do you cut it? It seems like magic. So I believe, once again, the intention with my project was to foster this wish to follow up, ask questions. Who's doing this? Who's that person? Which obstacles has the person overcome? Bringing a new language to them. So when he kindly volunteered, he doesn't know that, but more than having accepted that challenge for himself, we were really willing to learn from him how that professional was trained, the work methodology behind the work he does. So for those students who never had an opportunity of seeing a different craft,
I guess a common ambition for kids that age is becoming a footballer. So we were providing alternatives or new directions. So what can be your ambition? What can be your contribution to the society? So this generating this new ambition amongst the young people, that was a challenge. Oh, congratulations. It was fascinating to see the activities. Thank you so much. Hello, good afternoon, good morning. I remember from a previous occasion when you mentioned that one of the children said that their ambition was becoming a food delivery person. So to ride a motorbike and deliver food for iFood. So I guess this is the reality that we are faced with. Precisely. This is the sort of ambition the youth has made available for them. So we are, of course, we couldn't allow the children to touch and work the glass, but they were able to see it. And we had several educators, coordinators of the program running through all the classrooms and presenting this. Of course, they couldn't touch the glass. However, they came in touch with the craft, with the technique, even though they never touched the actual cutting tools. But it is a way of showing there's a light at the end of the tunnel. There is... So these kids, they are being offered education, they are offered meals, they are offered several educational activities and cultural activities, and they can aim to become more than the food delivery person that knocks on your door with the food. So I think that all the professionals and civil servants present here from the heritage institutes and from the different institutions, they have this mission of paying it forward, to passing along the knowledge. So this is something we're take nothing from life after death. We need to do it and pass along all the wealth we have in life, and this is a way of doing this. Congratulations. I was really happy to see all these ideas and activities. I think you have disseminated the virus. They are being infected by art and at this point. So congratulations on disseminating that. So the mere fact of being there, of paying attention, of coming in touch with the craft and learning from it, that's already enough to make sure they are infected with art. And whenever these children are faced with artwork, they will see it under a different light. Definitely so, and that was our ambition. We wanted to convey this love for art to the children, and regardless of their circumstances, of the place they live, they are faced with multiple challenges. We had the strong winds that hit Rio the other day, and they are faced with a lot of adversity. However, this initiative will bear fruit and bring a lot of benefit for the kids. We have a question in the back. Good morning. My name is Caterine. I worked for IFAN for nearly 20 years. I actually took part in the inspections at Candelária Church. So congratulations on the project. Also congratulations on the educational activities you just presented. I wanted to share an idea, something that Mayara, take notes. Yes, I want to present a suggestion. I saw that you were presenting the concept of heritage, of how important heritage is for a society, and also the craft of glasswork. These are all very important for the children, but I would suggest that you include in the Heritage Education Initiative something that comes from the initiative of the young people towards you. So to make it a two-way lane, if you like, to take their suggestions, their initiatives. I think this is an additional dimension you could bring to the project. So stained glass is an ensemble of shapes and color. And of course, you have a scholarly interpretation of stained glass art, but you can bring a different dimension to that and ask them to reassemble or to create a composition, something that is made by the children, so they can explore the artistic potential, the artistic creative aspect. I guess this is an important seed to be sown, and that may bloom, and in the light of this heritage that is several years old, but with a new light, with the feelings and views of the present time. I guess this would engage the kids even further with heritage, and to bring a very interesting dimension to their perceptions, to their ambitions in life. They can achieve much more than being the food delivery service. I guess this would really penetrate their hearts. Thank you so much for your suggestion. I am actually a bit biased. I really love art, and Professor Paula was so receptive to all the demands and suggestions we came up with. She had already worked with those kids, with the boys and girls. And of course, Catherine, we need to go through the teacher in order to design the educational activities. So the Institute IRPH was they would always revert back and make reference to all the activities we had done in the workshop, in the visits, in the educational activities. So the teacher is very instrumental in helping design the activities, but also reinforcing all the contents and revisiting the contents afterwards. Also, the materials that Walter he brought from Germany, and afterwards they all were donated to the school. They remained with the school. They were used for new activities, to new compositions, and they saw all the cartoons, the templates done by Zeferino da Costa that were used during the production, and then came back to the church. So this perspective was also employed. The teacher did this work with the children, and there are many more to come, hopefully. Professor Márcia, my name is Eloisa. I'm an architect. I'm currently studying arts. I'm pursuing a degree in arts at the University of Rio de Janeiro, and we see that In the public schools in Brazil, students are often restricted in their ambitions and their worldviews. It would be wonderful if these educational activities were spread and replicated through the educational system as well, because we have a very precarious infrastructure in public education in Brazil, and it would be wonderful to see these materials, these contents also presented in other schools. So we can create this ambition amongst the youth. The arts are limitless. They have no boundaries. They know no boundaries. It would be a wonderful thing to see this project replicated and brought to other schools in the city of Rio. Thank you, Eloisa, for your remarks. One of my favorite words is ambition, and I have this ambition of executing this project elsewhere. So I want to take the historical church project to other venues as well. And that's what an extension project is all about, to extend the reach to other sites, other communities and realms. So another favorite word of mine is to aggregate. I want to aggregate wisdom, knowledge, expertise, and partnerships. Please, then help us bringing this initiative to the Education Secretary of Rio so we can replicate these activities and expand the worldview of our students. But please help me, because we need all hands on deck to accomplish that. We will be resuming these activities, a new semester of activities with a different cohort of students, and we definitely want to bring this to more and more children. We want to take care of all the children. So come and get in touch with us, please, and assist us in this endeavor. Thank you so much. Oh, it's so nice to see the former students giving us a round of applause. Good afternoon. It is an honor to hear you. I wasn't a student of Professor Márcia, but I'm really happy to be here today. So since you like so much this word, ambition, I guess we could have this ambition of turning this project into an interactive an exhibition. I guess we could collaborate and do that. This is something that would be very beneficial for the education of our future generations. I guess the young people today need to be assisted, but also we need to bring this content and materials to the adult population as well. Many of the adults are ignorant, and we know that acts of vandalism, they are learned. So someone has performed acts of vandalism, and that's why the young people replicate this sort of behavior. Therefore, we need to educate the adult population as well. So my idea would be to include all you have presented so far. So I was so pleased to hear our elder, the architect that presented the whole project before you, and last week I saw his lecture on another event, and he mentioned how touching it was to see the restored eyes of Our Lady and Christ the Child, because they seemed as if they were crying. Such beautiful artwork. So we need to think alongside the city government of Rio de Janeiro, maybe with sponsorship of other institutions such as Gerda Henkel's Foundation and others, and the collaboration of the German consulate and everybody we can muster. We could maybe think of a new initiative, an interactive exhibition incorporating the education not only of children but also of adults, because many adults may have thought of someday taking a stone from the ground and damaging heritage at some point in their life because of ignorance. So we need to think of it, the education not only of young people but also of adults. Now, Mário Chagas is taking notes. Yes, I'm not sure I can cope with all this effort. I'm teaching at the university. I have students that I monitor with their dissertations. But definitely this is something that we need to aggregate, to engage with different collaborators and in order to achieve it. I myself probably won't have time to do it alone, so we need all hands on deck, all the different institutions coming together to accomplish this. Thank you. Mário Chagas is at the end of the room, is raising his hand, but we are out of time. We thank you everybody for your questions. We are now closing this panel.